recent times, many have spoken about threats to free press and free speech. But this is not new. Critical voices have always been punished for asking questions. When exposing injustice is treated as a crime, it is clear that power is protecting itself. Here are just a few examples of people who were silenced. In nutrition, those who warned about sugar or defended natural fats were ridiculed or destroyed. The Sugar Research Foundation and Harvard scientists paid to hide the harms of sugar and shift blame onto fat. John Yudkin, the professor who warned about sugar in the 1970s, mocked and discredited until his career was ruined. Robert Atkins, ridiculed for decades for promoting a low-carbohydrate diet, later partly vindicated. Uffe Ravnskov, attacked as fringe for challenging the cholesterol heart dogma. Annika Dahlqvist, reported for telling diabetics to eat low-carb, high-fat, later cleared. Marianne DeMasi, her television documentaries on statins were pulled and she was suspended. Tim Noakes, dragged through years of hearings for his low-carb, high-fat advice, finally acquitted. Jennifer Elliott, expelled from her profession for recommending low-carb diets to patients. Gary Fettke, banned from advising diabetics to cut sugar, though the ban was later overturned. Zoe Harcum, marginalized for exposing flaws in dietary guidelines. And Nina Teicholz, her book The Big Fat Surprise shook nutrition science. But she was attacked and even blocked from conferences. In the Israel-Palestine debate, many lost their careers simply for speaking out. Norman Finkelstein, denied tenure and excluded from US academia after criticizing Israel and the political use of the Holocaust. Rula Jebrial called Gaza coverage overly pro-Israel on MSNBC. Her contract was not renewed. Steven Salaita, job offer cancelled after tweets criticizing Israel's bombing of Gaza. His career ended. Mark Lamont Hill, fired from CNN after a United Nations speech calling to free Palestine from the river to the sea. Abby Martin, excluded from mainstream media and took legal action against Georgia after refusing to sign a pledge of loyalty to Israel. David Miller, fired from Bristol University for criticizing pro-Israel lobby groups, despite an independent review clearing him. Mehdi Hassan, his MSNBC show was cancelled. He left under pressure and was later sidelined. Antoinette Lattouf, fired from Australian radio after criticizing Israel's actions in Gaza. In climate science, questioning the narrative often meant exile. David Bellamy, once a BBC favourite, frozen out after questioning global warming. Leonard Bengtson resigned under pressure after briefly joining a skeptical research group. Philippe Verdier, France's top weatherman, fired after calling climate hype exaggerated. Peter Ridd, fired after challenging Great Barrier Reef research, lost in court. Susan Crockford, her university role ended after disputing claims about polar bear decline. Judith Curry left her tenured post after criticizing the politicization of climate science. John Clauser, Nobel laureate, seminar cancelled after saying there is no climate crisis. Patrick T. Brown admitted leaving out key data to secure publication, exposing bias in the field. Freeman Dyson, world-renowned physicist, isolated for criticizing climate models. Will Happer, blocked from government posts for rejecting carbon dioxide alarmism. Richard Lindzen, MIT physicist, marginalized for challenging the consensus. Roy Spencer and John Christie, attacked for their satellite data showing less warming than models predicted. And Patrick Moore, Greenpeace co-founder turned critic, excluded from debate.
And so is the campaign against CO2, completely phony. There's nothing to it. It's not a real thing.
In gender and biology, even saying that sex is binary could cost you everything. Kenneth Zucker, fired after taking a cautious approach to child transition, later given a public apology. Alan Josephson lost his position after criticizing treatment guidelines for children. James Caspian, blocked from researching people who detransitioned and lost his legal case. Lisa Littman, her study on rapid onset gender dysphoria was suppressed and revised under pressure. Martina Navratilova dropped as ambassador for saying that trans women in sport is cheating. Selena Todd, Oxford professor deplatformed from academic events. Maya Forstater lost her job for gender-critical tweets, later won a landmark case protecting her beliefs. Colin Wright left academia after insisting that sex is biologically binary. J.K. Rowling boycotted worldwide for defending biological sex. Gillian Phillip, children's author, dropped for tweeting support of Rowling. Kathleen Lowry, removed from her post after gender-critical remarks. Carol Hooven, Harvard biologist, forced out after saying there are two sexes. Joe Phoenix, criminology professor, harassed and dismissed, later won her case. Kathleen Stark resigned after harassment. The university was later fined for failing to protect her. Deborah So, neuroscientist who left academia after stating there are only two sexes. Abigail Schreier, journalist, attacked and boycotted for writing Irreversible Damage. And Selena Soule, high school athlete, vilified for opposing trans women in female sports. And in War and Terror, critics of official stories were sidelined. Barry Zwicker disappeared from media after questioning the events of September 11th. Phil Donahue, top-rated MSNBC host, cancelled during the Iraq War for giving anti-war voices airtime. Chris Hedges, New York Times war reporter, forced out after opposing the war. Later, his shows on RT and the Real News Network were cancelled. Ashley Banfield, punished for criticizing patriotic war coverage, her show dropped. A physics professor who found traces of thermite in debris was placed on leave and pushed into early retirement. And finally, during COVID, questioning the official line cost many their platforms. Trish Regan, Fox anchor, fired after calling COVID coverage an impeachment scam. Robert Malone, pioneer of messenger RNA technology, banned from Twitter for criticizing mandates. A cardiologist who questioned vaccine safety lost academic posts and was deplatformed. Brett Weinstein and Heather Haying, evolutionary biologists whose Dark Horse podcast episodes were removed after questioning COVID policy. And Alison Morrow, Emmy-winning journalist who lost her job after refusing to censor an interview.
And then I was also told that they would never let somebody on our air that questioned vaccines, in the same way they would never let anyone question climate change, that those people were psychopaths, basically, that should not be listened to. So that was when I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. I remember it was...
Kary Mullis, Nobel Prize-winning scientist and inventor of the PCR test used during COVID. He died just months before the pandemic began. Mullis repeatedly warned that PCR was never designed to detect active infection. It only amplifies fragments of genetic material. He was also a relentless critic of public health officials like Anthony Fauci, accusing them of distorting science for power. So, the man who created the test that shaped the pandemic was gone just before it began. There's something deeply wrong with a society where you can't question or disagree. Cancel culture may hide the truth, but it also shows us exactly where to find it.